Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the melee glaive, the Xoris. So in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits. Meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframe's using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon built out by itself, and I let the viewer make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. Now, normally when I do a melee video, I do use one external, and that is a pet that primes for me. And it is because most melee weapons will use a mod called Condition Overload, which requires you to be priming. But glaives will glaives are one of the weird weapons that typically do not use Condition Overload. And so for this glaive build and for all of my glaive builds that I do on this channel, we won't be using a primer pet during the video. Now, that's not to say that using a primer pet normally isn't a good thing. Like, it's still really, really good. I mean, I would still want, either a Panzerwelpephyla or a ranged mechanical hound running around, like throwing viral on everything. It would still make, the weapon be very good. But for the videos, because I don't mix it with externals, and because we're not using Condition Overload, there's no reason for me to put a primer pet for the video here. So the Xoris was recommended to us, or suggested for us to do, by commenter Shaquem Simmons, and that's why we're doing it today. It's a really good recommendation too, because you're actually going to use the Xoris. You're not just going to use it as a weapon, but you're actually going to use it to do a particular part of content as well, where you're not completely forced to use Xoris. There's like some other janky ways you can get through the Granum Void, but it's the easiest way that you don't have to make specific builds for other than the weapon itself. All right, we have the top commenter of the last video, Skip Street, and we have the first commenter of the last video, Hey Abellionis, and he's on a little streak, Hey Abellionis. I wonder if he's going to be first on this video too. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so the Xoris, it is a little Corpus-style glaive. I'm pretty sure you just get this from doing the quest. I forgot exactly what quest it is, but if you just do the storyline, you'll eventually get this little guy here. If you accidentally sell him, or in fact, if you accidentally ever sell anything that is like from the story, like maybe the Nadaruk or the Xoris or even like Warframes and things like that, you can just rebuy them from Cephalon Cimeris. So if you accidentally sold this, don't worry about it too much. Just go visit Cephalon Cimeris and see how much money he wants for it. It's usually a good amount, so it kind of sucks sometimes having to farm Cephalon Cimeris rep, but you can get this back, so don't worry. Okay. So let me get my little paper here, and we're going to go over, before we get into the mods, we're going to go over the unique and interesting things about the Xoris. Okay, so the Xoris has infinite combo duration, which is really cool, although it's not really going to affect our build. Our build doesn't really care that we have infinite combo duration, but it's still nice. It's just, interesting. Heavy attacks produce an 8-meter explosion, which is huge for glaives. Explosions inflict forced impact and electric status. That's really, really good. And we're going to definitely bank on that on our build. And then also, the Xoris is the slowest flight speed of all of the glaives, which is not a horrible thing because we're going to be using a mod called Power Throw. And this lets us catch our Xoris easier because it's a bit slower. It's not incredibly slow, but it's a little bit slower than the other glaives. So it'll be easier to catch our glaive with Power Throw. I'm going to, after we go through the unique things and then the build, I'm also going to go to the Simulacrum just to show how to use Power Throw because it's a complicated mod. It's you're either going to get no value out of this and it's a dead mod slot if you don't know how to use it, or it's the absolute strongest mod on this build. It's like either one, so you have to know how to use Power Throw. So after we do the build, we'll just go over Power Throw real quick. Okay, and then the other unique thing, so this is the second part of the uniques. Everything I just said is going to work all the time. The second part that I'm about to say, this only happens in the Granum Void, okay? So, the Xoris is unique to the Granum Void because it's like kind of like the whole story part of it, which I won't spoil, but you'll get to it. So in the Granum Void, charged throw explosions convert errant specters, which is one of the enemy types in the Granum Void, into charges. And next to your reticle for the Xoris, you'll have these 3 little tick marks, and those 3 little tick marks can fill up. And they fill up into like, I don't know, like an orange colored diamond or something. So when you kill 3 errant specters, you'll have 3 little charges there. Using charged throw explosion with 3 charges increases the explosion size. So you'll get an even larger explosion if you're exploding it with 3 of those little charges. And then also throwing it and exploding it with 3 charges next to a prisoner will free the prisoner. In the Granum Void, there are 3 prisoners, and freeing them will give you a little bit of rep, and it will also give you a large amount of time, because if you know, or if you don't know, you are on a time limit when you're in the Granum Void. So there's a few different things you can do in the Granum Void to increase your time limit, but saving the 3 prisoners are huge. I can't remember if it's like it's either a 20 or a 30 second more time you get per prisoner, but like that's possibly a minute and a half, which is crazy. So you definitely want to be doing that in the Granum Void if you're using the Xoris. I'm going to do an entire video on the Granum Void probably next, because I think it's going to be perfect to like mix up with the Xoris. Like I did the Xoris today, and then I'll do a Granum Void video. I didn't do a video yesterday because I was feeling a little bit sick. And so I think to make up for it, I'm going to do a video on Sunday, which I normally don't do, but it'll be like the makeup video. And I think on Sunday, I'll do the Granum Void video to go with the Xoris. So I won't, I don't know exactly. I can't remember exactly for the 20 or 30 seconds you get from the prisoners. But when I do that Granum Void specific video, I'll have the exact numbers for you guys. All right, enough about that. Remember that second part, though, with the unique trait, that's only for the Granum Void. So like you're not going to actually have the little 3 charge thingies when you're not in the Granum Void. Okay, let's go over mods next here. So we have Sacrificial Pressure for flat damage and a small increase to critical chance. I know this doesn't say increase to critical chance, but because it's a set mod, it actually increases the critical chance you get with Sacrificial Steel, which is going to be the next one. So you can look at Sacrificial Pressure as flat damage and a small critical chance increase. Sacrificial Steel is going to be for critical chance. Amalgam Organ Shatter is going to be for critical damage and heavy attack wind-up speed. Pretty much all of our throws are going to be heavy attacks, so this is perfect. Power Throw, we are only using this for the bottom parts. There's +2 punch through, which we don't care about at all. And then there's on consecutive throw, you get +100% throw damage, and it stacks 3 times. And this is multiplicative. It doesn't say it's multiplicative, but this is multiplicative, except it's not multiplicative like some other multiplicative sources. Like this won't double dip on dots, but it's still multiplicative as far as like the damage goes. And again, when we get to the simulacrum, I'll show how to use this, because if you don't know how to use this, you are actually not going to have any stacks of power throw. And at that point, it's just a dead mod slot. So, but if you know how to use this and you're throwing it with 3 stacks all the time, you are getting extreme value out of it. Okay, next here, we're going to have Primed Fever Strike. So, I'm trying to figure out how to explain this exactly. So this weapon has forced electric procs. Those forced electric procs will mix and give you corrosive when they mix with the toxic. However, they're still going to produce the electric that is stated because it's a forced electric proc. So it's weird. It's like you get the forced electric, but it's also mixing with the toxic, because toxic plus electric gives you corrosive, and giving you corrosive. Now, the status chance on this weapon is pretty booty. Like 18% status chance on a slow weapon. This is a slow weapon. You're throwing a glaive and exploding it. So 18% status chance isn't great for corrosive. But like you're not going to get a lot of corrosive procs out of it. Sometimes. We'll get to that. But corrosive itself is just really good to have on the weapon because it's a good damage multiplier. There's not the enemies that are the hardest in the game are weak to corrosive, the Grenier. So it's really good to have on your weapon. And we are going to be mixing this with melee influence, which can spread statuses on your weapon. Okay, so we're getting forced electric procs. So the forced, what forced means is it doesn't matter what the hell your status chance is. Like, this could be 0%. We're still getting an electric proc because it's forced. So with melee influence, we don't actually have to go with status chance because we're getting electric for free. So melee influence is on a melee electricity status. There's a 20% chance for element melee status effects to apply to enemies within 20 meters for 18 seconds. So, you know, we're getting the electric for free. We don't really have to care about status chance. And the melee influence, when this procs, it's going to carry your corrosive around as well, and it's going to be spreading that. So the corrosive will be less, you'll see it less frequent than you will see the electric procs, but because of melee influence, like sometimes you will start seeing corrosive spread all over the place. And that's really good. It's an armor strip. Like the corrosive procs are an armor strip like per proc, but then even, like I said, even without, like even if you were to never proc this, it's still a good damage multiplier to have on your weapon because Grineer are weak to it. All right, enough about that. Next is Corrupt Charge. This is a mod that is specifically good on glaives. So plus 30 initial combo gets you into 2 times combo multiplier. And that's about it. That's really all we care about. The combo duration doesn't really matter. And it's because glaives, as soon as you heavy attack explode, you're going to lose your combo. So you're not like stacking like times 12 glaive combo like you would with some other weapons. Like regular melee weapons can easily get to times 12. Glaives can't really, especially if you're going to explode them, because they're going to go. It's going to go away as soon as you heavy attack, which is the explosion. So Corrupt Charge just gives us times 2 all of the time. So the plus 30 initial combo will always just give us times 2 for every throw. It doesn't seem like a lot. Times 2 doesn't seem like a lot, especially when other melee weapons get to times 12, but it actually is quite a bit. So that's why Corrupt Charge is definitely worth having on the weapon. And if you get a Riven, you're always going to look for initial combo, because that will increase what you start at with a glaive. Okay, next mod here, we're going to have Volatile Quick Return. Kind of like Power Throw, you're going to actually just not care about most of this except for some of it. So the -4 bounce we don't care about. The plus 100% chance to explode on a bounce we don't care about. The only thing we care about in Volatile Quick Return is the plus 3 blast radius. So we get plus 3 more range on our Xoris explosion, which I believe is going to bring it to an 11 meter explosion, which is gigantic. Keep in mind, this can self-stagger you though, so be careful with that. You might want to either use a Warframe that has self-stagger or put some kind of self-stagger immunity on it. On your Warframe or something. Like maybe Prime Surefooted or something. Okay, in the next slot here, in the last slot, we're going to have, or almost last slot, we have 2 up top. So in this slot here, we're going to use Killing Blow. 120% melee damage on heavy attack. We're going to be heavy attacking all the time because we're going to be exploding our glaive. And plus 60% heavy attack wind-up speed. Alrighty. In the stance slot, there is 2 different stances. There's Gleaming Talon and Astral Twilight. I cannot tell any difference in these stances on throwing it and exploding your glaive. I think the only differences is if you're actually intending to like whack dudes with your glaive. But I don't actually use my glaive as a normal melee weapon. I'm sure most people don't use their glaive as a normal melee weapon. If you do, then you might want to consider looking at these stances and maybe choosing the one you like. But for our build, it doesn't matter. You could pick one of them. If someone knows if there's a difference on the thrown explosion attack, let me know. But I don't think there's any difference between these 2. Okay, and in the Tennokai slot, we're going to be going for Dispatch Overdrive. On a heavy attack hit, which is going to be all the time because exploding your glaive is a heavy attack, you get plus 60% movement speed for 15 seconds. So with this build, you'll always have 60% movement speed. Is that absolutely needed? No, not really. It's just like a kind of a comfy utility thing. So if you really wanted to, you could just use nothing. And this would be completely fine. Tennokai for glaives, I did a lot of testing, especially on the previous Halakar Wraith glaive video I did like a couple weeks ago. And Tennokai just seems to not even work on glaives. It's probably intended that way because it might be too strong, because then you could get to a times 12 multiplier with glaives, and I don't think DE like intended that. So like I did a lot of testing previously in the Halakar Wraith video, and none of the Tennokai stuff worked. So unfortunately, we're stuck using the non-Tennokai Exilises, which are all kind of weak, and this Dispatch Overdrive is the only one that it works all the time, and it kind of makes it a little bit more comfy because you're moving around quicker. There is one Exilis that is potentially a DPS increase, although I don't like it, and it is Whirlwind. So Whirlwind gives you 180% projectile speed, which makes your projectiles faster. The problem with Whirlwind is we're using a mod called Power Throw, and you need to be able to catch your glaive. That's going to sound a little bit confusing until we get to the Simulacrum, and I'll show you how to catch your glaive. But if your glaive is moving at Mach 9, it's going to be harder to catch than if it's moving a little bit slower. So, you know, would Whirlwind increase your DPS if you were absolutely perfect? If you were the most perfect best player with glaives ever, yes, Whirlwind would probably be a DPS increase. But I think even for the above average player, it's going to make you screw up catching your glaive a lot of times, especially when you're using it at closer ranges. So I think Whirlwind most of the time will actually be a negative for you. But, you know, there's that caveat. If you believe you are the best player in the game and you catch your glaive perfectly every time, Whirlwind could technically be a DPS increase in the Exilis slot. Alrighty. We already went over melee influence on the arcane there. So that's how you build the Xoris out. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to the Simulacrum, and I want to show off Power Throw, because Power Throw is a bit confusing. So let's head to the Simulacrum here. I'm also going to show you, for anyone that doesn't know, where to rebuy your Xoris if you accidentally sold it. I'll just show you where to do that. It's right where the Simulacrum is. So you just fast travel to Cephalon Samaris, any of the relays, and little Simulacrums to your left here in this little teleporter. And then Cephalon Samaris is this dude right here that gets right into your face. And if you look to the right, there's like a little blue console there. This console is his shop. So you go in here, and he has all the stuff that he sells. And if you scroll down to the bottom, these are going to be like all the story items that you get along the way. And you could always rebuy them. So you could actually have like 2 of them. So, or even login rewards, I guess too. So like I have the Azima, the Zenith, the Sigma, and Octantis, which are login rewards. So because I've already unlocked them from logins, now they're available in Samaris. So if I accidentally sold my Azima, I could rebuy it here and then rebuild it. Same thing with the Xoris or even the Umbral mods. So I just wanted to show that off for anyone that accidentally sold one of their quest items. You just go to Cephalon Samaris, and it'll probably have it there. So let's go to the Simulacrum here, and we're going to show off Power Throw. Okay. So with Power Throw, you're going to see a buff in the top right next to my my health there with a Naros Prime there. Okay. So if I throw it normally and it comes back to me, there's no buff. I actually have to catch the glaive. So I have to be holding E when it comes back to me. All right, so I'm going to hold E this time. Ready? I'm holding it. Boom. Throw it again. See it 1 times. Throw it again. 2 times. Throw it again. 3 times. Throw it again. 4 times. But as soon as I'm going to let go, oh, it's gone. So you have to be, you have to have your finger holding E when it comes back to you. Okay, and you can do the same thing if you decide to explode it. So if I throw it, explode it, hold E, throw it, explode it, hold E, throw it, explode it, hold E. And you see there I'm at 3 times now. And I can keep doing this like forever until I decide I don't want to and I don't hold it anymore. And then boop, it goes away. All right. And there's big increases in damage here. So let me spawn in some dudes here. And I'm going to throw it, and we'll take a look at the orange numbers. So just try to focus on an orange number when it pops up. So I'm going to go ahead and throw it. 2-2. I saw 2-2 like 100. So 22,100. All right, 22,100 without Power Throw. Let me let all the buffs up top fall off, and then we'll do that again. 22,100. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get up to 3 times, though. 1, 2, 3 we should be at, I think. 88,500. So that is a gigantic increase in damage. And of course, you don't have to throw it away from you. You could just do it here and just make sure you're catching it every time. I just wanted to show the difference between no power throw and 3 power throw. So it went from 22,000 to 88,000. So power throw is extremely powerful. You just have to know to actually catch the glaive with E. So when you hold E, it'll basically tell your glaive to come back to you, and you just hold it until it comes back to you. So you don't want to hold it, like if I throw it and then, like, you know, hold it immediately, it's going to not go very far. So you only want to start holding your glaive when it's like, when you're happy with it. So you throw it out, explode it there, then I'll hold E. Explode it there, then I'll hold E. Now, where this becomes more difficult to do is at close ranges. And it comes down to, like, remember how we were talking about projectile speed, and with Whirlwind it makes it more difficult? Well, it's similar to close ranges, because at close ranges, things are coming back at you like much quicker than at longer ranges. So at close ranges, it's still doable. You know, I'm still going to be at 3 power throw here. It's just a bit more difficult because I have to be a little bit more like anal about immediately holding E or whatever. If you're on console, it's definitely not going to be. It's going to be something else. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So, all right, that was the power throw showcase. That's how you use power throw. Let's leave the simulacrum here. Go back to Orbiter. I just wanted to show that off because power throw is either going to be doing nothing if you don't know how to use it, or it's going to be doing everything. Well, not exactly everything, but... All right, because I don't mix this with anything, I'm going to be doing this on a big dumb Inaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance. No mods or arcanes on the Inaros that increase weapon performance whenever it loads in. There we go. And with a pet with no sentinel weapon and no mods on the pet that increase weapon performance. Just so we can see the Xoris, how it works by itself. And you guys can make your own assumptions on using externals. Like I said, though, like a primer pet would still make this really powerful. Like any kind of viral proc on the dudes. Ooh, that'll be pretty sexy. Run around with a Panzervolt Philo or a Mechanical Hound or something.
Your enemies have grown fierce. Use all that you have learned.
And like we were saying, though, before, too, you see how, like, next to my reticle, there's no, like, little tick marks or no, like, little orange diamonds, like I was saying? So you'll only get those in the Granum Void. And the Granum Void is the only time you'll actually see, like, orange diamonds, like, stacking up to the right of your reticle. So we'll go over that on Sunday when we do the Granum Void video. I'm going to cast my 3 to give myself status immunity, but that's the only thing I'm going to cast. And it's just because this does have a pretty big... blast radius. And you know, you won't be perfect with power throw. I probably won't be perfect on all of my hits with power throw here. But even if you're only at one stack of it, it's still a lot more damage than if you were not to even have it on your thing. Got kind of a weird tile set with 2 floors here, but luckily the Xoris has crazy range. Well, not only does it have crazy range, but we give it 3 more meters with, what is it, Volatile Rebound, I think is the one that gives us 3 more meters. This is extremely powerful. I mean, the fact that it has forced electric is super, super powerful. I have to, like, look and see if the other... I think there's another glaive. I think it's the Falcor that has electric on it innate. I don't know if it's forced or not. If it's forced, if it's not forced, that could mean the Xoris is better than the Falcor. Or Falcon or something. I forgot exactly what it's called. But if the Falcor has forced electric procs, ooh, that'll be sexy too. Because then we can pretty much do the same thing we're doing here, where we put a toxin on it, and we get both, right? We get corrosive and the electric. My status immunity must be down. That's why I'm staggering myself. Put it back up here. What am I doing? Trying to attack normally with the glaive there. What was I thinking? The glaive's not a real melee weapon. Might as well have a pool noodle at that point. Supposed to be throwing it. And for anyone that's not super familiar with glaives, you're going to be middle clicking. So whenever it's at like the appropriate range you want it to be at, middle click. That's how you heavy attack with it. You could also directly throw it at dudes, but that is not our build. Our build is not a direct hit glaive build. It's an explosion glaive build. Certain things work better when you hit directly with glaives, and certain things work like not at all when you hit directly or explode. So like there's different ways to build glaives out. Ours is a explosion build. I feel like we're not getting a lot of enemy density here. I don't know why. It's only like, you know, a few enemies up at a time. Or are we just killing them really quickly? Could be this really big tile set. Could be kind of screwing us here. I can hit the dudes up top from down below, though. Explode it, like, at the ceiling, and it'll hit all of them. Oh, I just screwed up my power throw there. Oh my goodness, I fell in the pit. Out of the pit. For ribbon stats for a glaive, initial combo will be very important, although you need to get... I don't know exactly like what the numerical number would be to get you to ×3, but you need to have that number to get you to at least ×3. If it's still ×2, then you might as well not have it. But I think, you know, plus 30 from Corrupt Charge gets you to ×2, so I don't think it has to be super high to get you to ×3. If anyone knows exactly like what the numerical value is to get you to ×3, let us know, but... I guess depending on the disposition of the weapon, you might also be able to get to ×4 with the initial combo. I just don't know. I feel like most glaives aren't going to have big disposition. I forgot what this one is. Put my stagger immunity back on. Saw myself staggering. And again, don't like be, you know, understand how to use power throw. Try to catch your glaive, but don't feel like you need to be at 3 times power throw for the entire hour you're in a steel path survival. Like you're gonna screw up once in a while. I you know, even in these 10 minutes, I probably are gonna screw up like 20 times. It's not a big deal. If most of your hits can be at 3 times, and then once in a while when you screw up, it's at 1 times, 2 times, it's not a big deal. You're still getting a lot of value out of it. just try to get yourself in the
My brothers,
in like the muscle memory of catching your glaive.
did I not prophesize this moment? We cannot blame these creatures. They are being led by a false prophet, an impostor who knows not the secrets of the void. Now I will stop them. Now I am changed, reborn through the energy of the Yanis key, forever bound to the void. I was cut in half, destroyed. Behold, they cut me down.
Poor Vor, we just took him down.
Still I speak
Guys lived a hard life. Tell you what.
energy, and I cannot be destroyed.
We're at a minute and 40 seconds left. We'll be done here. And we'll do the, what's it called? The Granum Void video on Sunday, hopefully. As kind of a makeup for yesterday. I just was not feeling good yesterday. It was so stupid. You know why? You know why I didn't do my video yesterday? Is because my cat woke me up probably about like 20 times yesterday. Well, not last night, but the night before. And I got like no sleep. I got no sleep because my cat kept friggin' waking me up. I don't know why he just needed so much attention. He'll come and he'll want to sleep on my pillow, but he can't just sleep on my pillow. He has to poke me in the face because I have to be awake the entire time. I don't know why he wants me awake, but I have to be awake. So as soon as I start dozing off, he'll poke me in the face. And, yep, I got zero sleep. I was absolutely miserable yesterday. I can't tell him no, though. You know, I mean, a cat is too cute. You can't say no to a cat. Oh. Roll to get the malice bubble off of us. There we got 15 more seconds to kill him. Get our kill numbers up a bit. All right, that's it. 10 minutes. The last few heavy attacks kind of screwed up there. I was a little bit salty about that. I could have gotten like two good more throws, but they kind of screwed up. I don't know why. All right, so we're at 1,278. That might have hit the most out of any melee weapon we've done so far. Maybe. I can't remember, but I can't remember exactly, but I think it might. 1,278 in 10 minutes. That's really freaking good. I forgot what the Halakar Wraith scored. I know that was also really high because it's got an 8 blast. You know, and that's very powerful. An 8 blast, oh my goodness, that's powerful on the Halakar Wraith. But this guy has an 8 electric, which is perfect because you always want to put on friggin' melee influence if you can. And it also mixes. It mixes and it doesn't mix with the stuff you put on it. So it mixes to make corrosive, but then you still get the Force Electric, which is awesome. So yeah, Xoris does surprisingly really, really good.
You are a blade. You exist to strike.
I have suggestions for 2 more glaives that I think I'll do both of them next week. I have the Glaive Prime itself. And ooh, there was one that was literally just suggested, and now I can't think of what it was. But there's 2 glaives, so 2 glaives for next week. But the Glaive Prime is one of them, and the Glaive Prime is like considered the king of glaives. So I wonder how the Glaive Prime is going to do up against the Xoris. That'd be weird if the Xoris beats it out. That'd be a little bit weird. So yeah, that's the video. That's the Xoris. I'm gonna do the Granum Void video on Sunday, hopefully, just to kind of add that to the Xoris, because the Xoris and the Granum Void are kind of, you know, one and the same. You most of the time take the Xoris with you if you're going to do Granum Void farming. There's some like wacky, janky things you can do without the Xoris. Like you just go in there with a Mesa. She is pretty good at farming Granum Void. But I like going in there with the Xoris. So we'll do that video on Sunday. So if you guys liked it, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.